The Clockwork Mouse. This is a story of a toy mouse. It had round ears, it had black beady eyes, shiny beady eyes. It had whiskers that are hairs around the face, a long thin tail, and it had a coat of grayish brown color, very hairy, furry, just like a real mouse. It looked very lifelike. And when it was moving around in the house, anybody could have seen and would have thought it to be a real mouse. But it had a one small hole at the side of its body, which was for the key, and it had a small brass key. When it was moved around, the brass key helped the mouse to scuttle on the floor. Now, this was given to Jimmy on his 7th birthday, and at first he was very happy with it. He used to have a lot of fun with it. He frightened his little sister. When she was sleeping, he would put this mouse on her pillow next to her, and when she woke up, she was staring at the mouse and she would scream. Then he would let this mouse run on the carpet, and when the mother would enter in the sitting room, she would scream and jump onto the chair. Then sometimes a posse lady, she would come to tea, and she kept on talking and talking, and Jimmy would let the mouse run straight at her feet, and when she saw it, she screamed, spilled hot tea on her lap, and jumped. Even the cat at first was fooled with this clockwork mouse. It would pounce on it, thinking that it was a real mouse, and would try to eat it. But then time passed and everybody became used to this mouse, and they knew that it is not a real mouse, only a toy. And Jimmy also got bored playing with it. And he also lost the key, the brass key, which helped the mouse run around the floor. So Jimmy just forgot about it. He put the mouse in his toy cupboard, where it laid for many years. Then one day, Jimmy's mother decided to get the cupboard cleaned, and whichever toys that were not to be used or not being played by Jimmy, she should give away to charity. So one day she was cleaning the toy cupboard and putting all the old toys in the big cardboard box for charity. So she suddenly saw the clockwork mouse. For a little bit of time, a split second, she thought it was real. So she was a little bit afraid. But then she stared in the mouse's eyes and remembered that, it was just the toy, recognized it, picked it up by its tail, and she held it rather delicately, carefully and cautiously between her finger and thumb, because it was really horrible to look at the mouse. Then she saw there was no key with it. So she thought that it was no use for Jimmy anymore. So she also dropped it in the waste paper basket. She did not pack it into the cardboard box for charity, but thought that it was now useless for anyone to play with, so she threw it away. Now what happened? The basket was emptied in the dustbin and outside, and when the bin men or the people who come to pick up the trash, they tipped, or they picked all the contents of the dustbin into the refuse lorry. Refuse lorry has a machine inside it, and refuse lorry it compresses all the garbage, and the machine compresses it and squashes and breaks it, so that the garbage becomes small and they can easily dump it in the rubbish dump. But the clockwork mouse was so small that it was saved from the crusher inside the lorry, and it was just thrown the one whole piece into the rubbish dump. Now on that afternoon, it rained, and all the dust and dirt from the clockwork mouse body was washed. It became clean and looked new again. So that night, a fox, it came searching for food, scavenging fox, which looks for small pieces of meat and dead animals. It was searching here in the rubbish dump. It came from the forest, which was at the end of the rubbish dump, and it took the clockwork mouse in its mouth and thought that it was something to eat. Now, it took it in the forest among the trees, and it played with the mouse for some time because it was a young fox. It was at first fooled by it, but then when it smelt it and tasted it, it understood, the fox, that it is not something to eat, but it played for it for a little while and then just threw it around and left from there. Then some hours later, a wood mouse, it came running through the leaves and it saw this clockwork mouse. Now she was a female, so she at first shyly touched noses with this clockwork mouse to make friends of him, and then it's her mate came, the male mouse, and it was angry to see her female mouse making friends with this clockwork mouse. So it came angrily at the clockwork mouse and it bit him and kicked it furiously. Now at that moment they heard an owl. It was night time, so owl's screeching sound. So both of them ran away, the real wood mice. Then a few minutes later, the owl came and it carried the clockwork mouse, because it was lying there, up to its nest. It had 3 young owlets waiting for food from their mother. So she put the clockwork mouse in her nest. But they were very angry because they could not eat this strange, hard thing. They were very angry at their mother. So she threw it out of the nest again and flew to search for some other food. The clockwork mouse, it lay at the foot of that hollow tree where the owl's nest was for many months, until autumn season came and there were many leaves falling from the tree.